Okay, I think we have just finished our midterms. Okay, so you are very clear about what to do for your problem-based project, and you may also have been studying the AWS cloud service. So today we are going to start with the module 6. It's talking about a computer. Okay, and we will have the hands-on to build a website and create a GitHub for your project. Okay, so also we will reserve the last hours for you to discuss your project, because we need to get started as soon as possible, because we only have 16 weeks. So now it's 9. So you have to assign, someone to take care of the website, someone to take care of GitHub, and someone to build the hardware, someone take care of cloud. There are a lot of work to do. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do today. Okay, but there is one thing is quite important, is our class is talking about a cloud service, right? So how can we construct a computer on the AWS platform, right? Okay, so maybe we should start from what we are familiar with, like a computer, right? So how does the computer works? If anyone can explain? 那个可以把后门关起来，我怕声音跑到隔壁去，会吵到别人。Can you explain how the computer works? The computer should have a CPU, right? Okay, but the high-end CPU can be more expensive. So what kind of CPU your computer have? Intel, i3, i5, i7, something like that, right? But it sounds like i7 or i5 is more expensive. Okay, so maybe let's look at my computer. Okay, usually when you turn on a computer, they have a setting. Sorry, my computer is in Chinese, but I think you can understand. Okay, so when you look at the system, and you can drop down, and here will provide you the system information. So that's what my computer's information. So it shows I have 12th generation Intel Core i7 CPU. It was not very good, but it's pretty good enough for general work. Okay, and I have memory and also storage, right? Memory, storage. So once you are going to choose the AWS compute service, it's something like this. You may want to have something more powerful, right? Okay, so that's my computer. But how about the computer, a school computer room? I mean, that's storage, my disk. But like this computer is a school computer, right? I mean, this one. So when I shut it down, what happened? What happened? Because there is a watchdog, or we call a system recovery, right? So if you shut it down, and you will go back to original setting. Okay, so that's what happened on the computer. Okay, how about on cloud? you set up a computer on the cloud, then you shut it down, what happened? You know what happened? The data disappear. The data will disappear. But why? This is my computer. As I paid money, I set up on the AWS. Right? I pay every minute, seconds. But why I shut it down and the data disappear? Because you make the wrong setting. So for the storage, they may have two types. One is called blocks. One is called instance. Instance like you are in an instance. So once you shut it down, you will close. You will delete. Okay, so when you are setting up a cloud service, you have to remember you have set up storage as well. It's just like the computer you are running on entity, 就是实体的电脑。Okay? So let's look at this. Today we are going to have an exercise for setting up EC2, 把欢迎 EC2. Elastic CC Computer Cloud 我忘记，我现在EC2是两个 C 嘛，对不对 ？Computer Cloud Okay, anyway, it will be like our computer. How does our computer works? We have CPU, right? We have memory, right? Then we have storage. But in our class, we are talking about IoT, right? IoT is an edge. So IoT a sensor catch some data, right? So you will try to pass to the back end. That's a storage, right? And of course, we have the program which used to collecting data. So we store in our storage. That's a disk. Okay, but how can we make this run faster? Because if we are going to compute things, we will have the data go to the memory first, right? I know some of you are computer science background, you are very clear, but I need to take care of all students. Okay, so anyway, this will help CPU means the capability of the computer. Okay, like my car, I have 2,000 cc engine, combustion engine. So I have more power, right? But if you have only 1 cc car, and your car can be slower. Okay, so that's a capability of your computer, how fast you can run. But the memory is something, if you are going to compute, you need to get the data as soon as quickly, right? The memory can have a quicker response. So usually we will get the data you need to put in the memory for computing. Okay, but if your memory do not have enough space, you have to retry again. So people prefer to have a larger memory. Okay, so we can retrieve all the data we need from storage once. Okay, we don't need to request. So you can use your那叫什么？工作管理员叫什么？英文叫什么？我忘记了。装置管理员有一个，不是 delete， 这 the task management. Okay, I think most of you may understand this, but however, you need to know the performance of your computer. You know which program is running and how much resources have been using by it. All right. Okay. So that's my computer. You may have many applications, right? Once you are running a system. For example, you are running something like a U-bike system. So it's a huge system. Okay, so you may need to have many servers. So that's one computer. And then remember what? We have been practiced to learn how to launch a web server. Remember the SAMP. What the service the SAMP include? We have Apache server. So that's a web server. And we have MySQL, that's data server. And then we have FTP for file transfer. Okay, but that's just one example. But once you install this server on your computer, what happened? What happened if you launch? What happened? You are occupied some resources, right? That will make your computer slow down. So you don't want to see this happen. So what's the other solution? You get another computer. So you can manage that. Okay, but how? So maybe you heard this. We call the network attached storage NAS. Okay, so the NAS, usually the price is cheaper because most of the time the server is running in idle status. I mean, if nobody really took it. So why do you need to have a powerful computing capability for this kind of server? You probably don't need, right? Okay, so 通常这个 NAS 呢，它比较便宜因为它就是不会一直乱。Except there is many visitors. Your website is so popular. Okay, so there is so many visitors. So your storage, your service is very heavy. Okay, but how do you run? Okay, how many of you heard about a Docker container? If you heard that, raise your hand. 举下手. You know what is Docker? Container? Nobody know what is Docker? Container? Okay, anyway, we will introduce later, don't worry. Okay, I would like to start with this, and we will also mention the VM. VM is a virtual machine. Usually there are two popular software. One is called VMware. The other is called VirtualBox. You need to pay for VMware, but it's more powerful. VirtualBox is free. Okay, but you have no idea why we mention this, because sometimes we have to run some machines at the same time. For example, you have some program. It's very old. It's running on the maybe Windows 7. Okay, even earlier, like Windows 2000. How can you run a Windows 2000 OS? You cannot, right? Okay, so you may use virtual machine to run this kind of program. Okay? You got my idea? You have a program. It's very old. It was created 20 years ago, but you still want to run it, right? So you need to build a Windows 2000 computer, so you can use this virtual machine. Okay, but of course, this will also occupy some resources. Okay, so, like I say, when we are going to run a program, we have our computer and we store the website and we have to install the database. And I don't want this to occupy my resources. Okay, so I try to attach NAS or some other resources to share the workloading. Okay, so, but all this is running on the cloud. Okay, so I need to know some tools which can help me to organize them. Okay, but now there's questions. Remember, we have been emphasized the cloud. The benefit of cloud is it's very easy to scale up and scale out. Scale up. Scale up and scale out. What's the difference? 有没有回答 What's the scale up? Scale out. I have one server. One server can serve hundreds, thousands of customers. Now, my customer increased to 2,000, so I need to have two servers, right? So how can I do? I duplicate it. So I can use image. But scale up means I increase the users' capability. But a scale out, it means I duplicate, I copy the image. I mean an instance. So I can deploy it very quickly. But first things is we have to migrate the current computer system to the EC2. Okay, but what is EC2? Remember, we have been talking about EC2, right? Okay, so for the AWS cloud, we have to find a region, right? We have to create the instance. We need to find an availability zone. Taiwan now has availability zone. Okay, but the zone, if we can have a zone in the other area, yes, in the same VPC, virtual private cloud. So that's your kind of territories. Okay, so you want to scale up or you want to scale out your business, you can base on this. So you can have many different zones. Okay. So how can we do this? It's based on the AWS machine image. Okay, we call AMI. So with AMI, you can duplicate your service very quickly, deploy your service very quickly. Okay, so that's instant. Instance. Instance just like the hardware. The computer we call entity, but in the virtual systems we call as an instance. Okay, so maybe we come to watch a video first to understand how they work, how to set up. I think let's go to the here. It will take about 3 minutes.
In this demo, I'm going to set up an Elastic Compute Cloud or EC2 instance. I've already logged into the console, so I'll start by going to Compute Services and clicking EC2. And I'll click on Launch Instance. Here I can choose which operating system I'll be running on my instance. I'll scroll down to one of the Windows versions and click Select. For this demo, I'll use all the defaults and simply click Review and Launch. I can review the default settings here, but I know the defaults are fine for this demonstration, so I'll just...
Okay, so that's the instance type, right? CPU, memory, storage. Just like when you are going to buy a computer, you will think of this. Okay, so, but also you see this is on the cloud, right? So you need to set up the IP also. It's just like a physical computer. Like your computer, you need to get the IP, right? But what happens once you shut down your computer? If you use your computer linked to our Wi-Fi in the cars, so once you shut down, you leave. Then you reconnect. What will you get? The IP will be different. You know what I mean? Like last week, before midterm, we set up the web server, right? With SAMP. When you link to the Wi-Fi, you will get the IP, right? But once you reconnect, what happened? The IP changed. IP changed. But how can you remand the IP not change? So they provide an elastic IP to fix your IP. Okay, so let's watch this.
Just click Launch. Connecting to the instance after it's launched requires cryptographic keys. So this pop-up is asking me to select the key pair that I'd like to use, or gives me the option to create a new key pair. I already have an existing key pair, so I'll check the Acknowledge box here and click Launch Instances. The instance is now launching and it only takes a few seconds, so I'll click View Instances and see if it's ready. This is showing all the instances I have in this region. You can see there are 2 terminated ones and a pending one, which is my new one. And there you can see the instance state has just changed to running, and it's still initializing the status checks. I'll select my new running instance, and at the bottom of my screen it shows me more information about it. You can see this new instance has a public IPv4 address and a DNS name, so let's try connecting to it with Remote Desktop. The first thing I need will be the DNS name or IP address. So I'll go to the console and copy the DNS name.
To this instance.
The username for all the Windows instances will be administrator. And I'll click Connect.
So now we are going to access to...
Now it needs the password for the administrator account, and I can get that from the console. So I go back to the console and go to Actions and Get Windows Password. It needs my keys to decrypt the password, so I'll click Choose File, select the keys I'm using for this region, and click Decrypt Password. And here's my administrator password. I'll copy that, then back in the remote desktop session, I'll paste it in here and click OK. I'll click Yes to continue connecting. And here it is logging in for the first time as administrator and setting up my Windows desktop. I'll disconnect by closing the window, close this box, and if I no longer need this instance, I can go to Actions, Instance State and Terminate and click Yes. So in this demo, we've created an EC2 instance with Windows running on it, connected to that instance using remote desktop, and then terminated the instance.
Okay, so now you know how to create a computer online. But of course, you can buy a NAS. I mean a physical computer. But how can I know it's optimized or not? Oh, okay, when you buy a computer, then can you change or upgrade it? Probably not. You buy it and that's yours. You cannot change, right? But on cloud, you can change. So you just feel, oh, the memory is not good enough. Because the memory is always drained. Okay, like we watching our system, right? We watching our system. We are watching our system, right? The memory drained, so we want to increase the memory. On the cloud, you can just increase, so easy. So if you think, oh, the CPU power can be too much, I want to save my money, right? So I can use what? I can change my CPU, downgrade to the maybe Intel i3, something like that. But how can I know the performance? They provide the function called CloudWatch. They have a function called CloudWatch. So they will be able to watch the status of your resources. So it will continue to keep the log for 15 months. 应该是15个月，如果我没记错的话。Every 5 minutes, it will record it. I mean create a log. So that will be a very good reference for you to compute your cloud, your instance. Okay, so that's what we need. And also, we talk about the key, the tag, the security, the key pair. What's the key pair on our computer? On our computer, you can scroll down and that's your system information and advanced system setting. Advanced system setting or remote protection hardware computer name 中置管理员 那一个叫网络 network setting。网络选项 network option. So here we'll provide you some information. For example, if we are going to encrypt the data, we have to use transportation layer security, right? So here is the information that used to secure our data. But for IoT, we have to use TLS 1.3. So you are going to encrypt the data on your IoT devices. You may choose 1.3 because it's lightweight. 就是它不会比较轻量化。And also security. Okay, so that's a certificate. So everything you have to be done on your computer, you have to set up, you have to compute on the cloud as well. 就是说你在电脑上所有的设定，你在 cloud 也要这样设定。Okay, but probably if you are not study computer science, you are not familiar with the environment. Okay, but now you are going to become IoT expert, right? So you need to get to know how they works. And also, once we talk about compute, the next step is what? Connection. Network connection. Like I say, we would not install a server on my personal laptops, right? Because that will drop down my speed. So I will have attached storage or application server. I need to make a connection. Make a channel. Like now, this is my computer. Right? We can use remote connection. Remember the video just show us. We just watched. 我们刚刚看到影片有没有？哎，不见了。我们刚才看到影片，就是这个。The video just watch, right? You have been shown this
to use,
that's a
or gives me the
security,
bottom of my
right?
screen.
And there is monitoring, and that's IP. Like I said, you shut down your instance. You shut down your instance. This will be changed. But how about reboot? Rebooting, not change. Restart, it will be changed. 这样知道怎么使用。You set up your computer, you use a remote connection. 这刚刚都有讲。Okay. Like this, remote desktop connection. So you put this in your computer. Okay. So you put here, and then you will set yourself as administrator, so you can use it. 这样会吗？ Okay, if you're confused, just watch the video again, and maybe our TA Max can help you for the setting. Okay. So we start over again. I give you the the best concept already. Oh, by the way, this is enhanced network. We have a system, right? But how can, in the physical world, we have a switch. Remember, in our school, the current backbone, network, the router or switch is based on 10 gigabit per second. Now, in our campus. But the new system is hundreds. So if your computer want to link to your EC2, you have to use the enhanced network. Because it's not on the same computer. It's a two this entity, is an instance. 一个是虚拟的，一个是实体的。所以这个要不是只有设定好。It's not everything on your computer now. It's a distributed system. Okay, so for this module, we will go through the computer service overview, EC2 cost optimization. So how can we optimize it? We use the CloudWatch to see how much resources have been consumed, right? So we can optimize. But also they provide a system to dynamically to change your configuration of the whole system. Okay, so they provide what? The container service, and they also introduce Lambda. Lambda is called serverless service. So you don't have a server, you just request when you want to use the resources. Just pay as you use. And the elastic beanstalk, like I say, you have a service, right? But you may scale up. You put this in different location. Okay, but how can you have a quick connection to access this data? So that's elastic beanstalk. So the activity including the EC2 versus managed service. Hands-on with AWS Lambda. I think this one is quite important, and AWS elastic beanstalk. And in demo, there is a demonstration for Amazon EC2. You have to know how to build an instance and remote control it. Then you will become your resources. Right? So we don't need to buy a computer to set up SAMP. You don't want to set up SAMP on your computer, right? On your laptops. And you don't want to buy a NAS, right? So you build this on EC2. But of course, the power is more beyond we just mentioned. 好，我用中文讲一次。我们一开始的时候，我们用我们的电脑，我们架个 server， 架了 database 这些东西，它会怎样造成我们电脑比较缓慢，对吧？slow down our computer。但是呢，它不会是开着的，因为 如果没有人访问你的网站，它是没有 loading 的，了解吗 ？If no visit, there is no loading for your server, right? So most of the time is idle, 对不对？但是我们的课程是什么 ？IoT. So our IoT will send data periodically, 对不对 ？Maybe 1 hour or 1 minute or every second, depends on your setting, right? But if we collecting data every second, the loading is very heavy, and some user try to request the data, and we also want to run some program to analyze this data. So what happened? The loading is too heavy, so I need to have attached storage which can run program data. So we introduce the container service. We introduce the VM machine. VM machine can help us to emulate the systems. Okay, I know you are pretty confused. Let's say we are trying to set up the instance. And how to use it? MI instance, type network setting. Network setting. The speed is important because it's in the virtual environment. Okay. So you need to assign the user, right? So we need to attach identity access management, right? And user data storage option and tag like label. Like my computer, I will my system, okay? Like my system. So my computer information. What 我怎么听我的那个名字啊？忘记了。Okay, like I have name, right? So people will be able to find my name. So the tag is just like this. You may say, oh, computer 1, computer 2, or the computer in Taipei. If you have branch in Kaohsiung, then you can have the tag for it. And the security groups. Okay, so that's a process you have to do. But it won't be very difficult because I say they have image. Like you install your Windows. I don't know how to install your Windows, but now normally they have image, so they just duplicate on your system quickly. How can you migrate your system to the new computer? Or if you have, for example, you use iPhone, right? So now you are going to change your phone to use Android system. And how do you migrate it? You need to have some tool, right? To like a middleware to translate, to convert the format. MI is not as though. MI just can duplicate. I forget. They has functions called used to migrate. 在哪里啊？忘记了。 我刚刚看一看忘记了。Elastic bean talk. Forget reduce administration overhead, but you can. Okay, maybe we now is about 10:10, so let's take a break. So come back a 10:20. 休息一下。是念文正堂还是这里？这是我看到的最厉害。讲义啦，这讲义其实都有写，这没有这。今天就讲那个电脑 EC2 啊，computer 啊，computer， 然后练习就这个，就这个 activity， 然后你要这里有个影片。第35页，35页，它可以下个点，就建个 EC2。那 EC2 弄完之后，你必须建完之后你要 remote control。对，那你因为它是虚拟的，你要去 那我大概解释就是，你这个要看的就是你有 CPU memory storage， 然后物联网还有，然后我们之前是用 SAM 去加它，其实就是 service。那你在你的电脑上跑这个 server， 所以会让你速度变慢。然后如果有100个访问者的话，那速度更慢。所以我们会用 NAS，NAS 就是 NAS attached network attached storage。那这种东西就是用 Docker 跟 container 的架构，或者你取证一下。然后这个弄起来的时候，那我们要把这个东西建在上面的时候，我们就是 demo 172，所以我用我的电脑用 remote connect 去控制它。然后这个就是你会自己建嘛？它有 AMI Amazon 的系统，里面就是里面就是对吧？那就把它对上去。那重点是你要去选择一样，那当然越好的系统越好，越好的电脑越贵。那你就那如果你平常要用的时候，比如说你要用电脑就是那如果在这里的话，我先用我们 PC 玩家在录，我们来用 Cisco 的virtual machine， 对不对？virtual box， 然后我们用 VMware。那在你刚才说你不用，你可以直接架一个 Windows 软件，它就有可以然后这是它的程序。你要架设的时候，第一个用 ARM 调上去，然后设定一个等级，然后 network， 因为它全部都 network， 你连它也是 network， 所以你可能要 image 100G， 因为别要连线干嘛？一个是4G 看嘛，所以现在学校的网络是10G， 但是我们在 Amazon 上你架了活动之后，你要加速，它就变速，就是这样。所以这个环境会比你自己架设。然后这个的话 ，storage 就是 storage， 如果你在一层下面的话，你如果关机的话，你把那个音源关掉的话，资料就会那如果在 block 里面，就是类似 NAS， 然后在外，它这个 block， 你关 instant 关掉，第二是外面的，这样它有点像那个 instant 的 storage， 有点像公用电脑一样，关机之后它就往启动，这种，所以这要注意。然后最后就是 tag 就是标签，你设10台20台，然后你要知道它是，我们电脑设定大的电脑，小的电脑。一开始他会叫你设定，就是通过这些。然后如果你要一直关掉的话，不过它的 IP 不会欠，重新启动。当然，如果你属于 Star， 它 IP 就会欠，跟你 WiFi 一样 ，WiFi 你连到教室的 WiFi， 你关机再打开 ，IP 就会欠。等到你关掉新的的时候，你现在就没有，你那remote可能会进去电，你知道吗？不是进不去的，就是说你那 IP 就关掉。那等下讲后面的东西就是蛋挞，因为这个会 边那个 Starbucks 咖啡馆是什么？没有服务。忘记停止录音。